is gone. Imagine running a small business in Kenya or South Africa, relying on American buyers. Overnight, your biggest customer might disappear, or demand you pay more to reach them. This isn't just about numbers. It's about livelihoods, dreams, and the stability of entire communities. Washington is silent. There are rumors of a one-year extension, but nothing concrete. The Trump administration talks about supporting trade, but new tariffs are already hitting goods that were once duty-free. AGOA, once a bridge, is now a source of anxiety. African leaders are scrambling, workers are worried. Over 1 million jobs are at risk, many held by women and young people. For them, AGOA was a lifeline, the difference between poverty and a steady income. Now, uncertainty hangs over factory floors in Lesotho, farms in Ghana, and workshops in Madagascar. The big question, what happens now? The silence is deafening. Let's rewind. AGOA started in 2000 as a new approach, not just aid but trade. The US opened its market to over 1,800 products from 32 African countries, no import taxes. That meant African businesses could compete in the world's biggest market. The deal: access in exchange for progress on things like workers' rights and the rule of law. Textiles and apparel boomed. Kenya, Lesotho, Madagascar became major suppliers for American brands. South Africa's auto industry thrived, exporting cars and parts to the US. By 2023, AGOA trade was worth nearly $10 billion. It was a win-win. The US diversified supply chains, Africa got a shot at industrial growth. But AGOA was always temporary, renewed every few years, never permanent. That uncertainty haunted businesses and governments alike. The program's flaw was built in from the start. Now the clock has run out. The question, can Africa build on what AGOA started, or will progress unravel? The stakes couldn't be higher. When AGOA worked, it changed lives. In Kenya, textile exports soared from $110 million to over $500 million, creating tens of thousands of jobs, many for women. Lesotho, a tiny country, became a garment powerhouse. For many women, these were their first formal jobs, bringing independence and hope. South Africa's auto industry flourished, attracting global manufacturers and creating skilled jobs. Agriculture benefited too. South African oranges and wines found new markets in the US. Madagascar's apparel industry and Ethiopia's industrial parks lifted families out of poverty. These weren't just numbers, they were stories of transformation. AGOA showed what's possible when African producers get a fair shot. But now those gains are at risk. Factories, farms, and families face an uncertain future. The end of AGOA threatens to turn success stories into cautionary tales. The question, can Africa protect these gains, or will progress slip away? AGOA's real impact was personal. Over 1.3 million jobs depended on it, many held by women in the garment sector. For them, a factory job meant independence, a voice at home, and hope for their children. Young people found their first real jobs, gaining skills and a reason to stay. Losing these jobs could fuel poverty and unrest. But let's be honest, conditions weren't perfect. Long hours, low pay, and tough workplaces were common. Still, AGOA offered a ladder out of poverty. Its end threatens to push many back into uncertainty. The human cost is real and growing. AGOA had flaws. Its temporary nature created constant uncertainty, hardly ideal for long-term investment. Benefits were uneven. A few countries and sectors thrived, while others struggled to participate. Many nations lacked the infrastructure or know-how to take full advantage. The program didn't do enough to push value-added industries. Most exports were still raw or low-value goods. US politics made eligibility unpredictable. Trade benefits could be revoked at any time. African countries were never fully in control. AGOA was a start, not a solution. Now its limitations are painfully clear. September 30th, 2025, AGOA is gone. Duty-free access vanishes. Kenyan shirts, Madagascan garments, suddenly 30% more expensive, and the US-American buyers hesitate. Orders are canceled. Factories slow down. The Trump administration had already started adding tariffs before the official end. Exporters face chaos, navigating new tariffs, losing trust built over decades. The International Trade Union Confederation Africa warns, 300,000 direct jobs and over 1 million indirect jobs are at risk. For many, this means the end of a livelihood. Communities built around factories face collapse. Businesses scramble, absorb costs and risk bankruptcy or lay off workers. Some look to Asia for new markets, but time is short. Panic is setting in. Africa's manufacturing dream faces its toughest test yet, all because a crucial law was allowed to expire. With AGOA gone, African leaders are in crisis mode. They're lobbying Washington for a short-term extension, a lifeline to keep trade flowing. The Trump administration says it supports a one-year extension, but action is missing. Hopes rest on attaching an extension to a must-pass U.S. bill, but nothing is certain. This exposes Africa's vulnerability, forced to plead for time, dependent on U.S. politics. Some experts say it's time for Africa to negotiate as a bloc, demanding a fairer partnership. Meanwhile, countries like Kenya are pursuing their own deals, risking unity for survival. The scramble is on, collaboration and competition, all at once. The future of millions hangs in the balance. The world is watching. The crisis forces a question. What's next for African trade? One path. Hope for a renewed, longer-term AGOA, more stable, more inclusive. Another, build on the African Continental Free Trade Area. Trade more within Africa, rely less on the US. A third, look east, diversify partners, and tap into booming Asian markets. The likely future? A mix of all three. In the short term, Africa needs a US deal to save jobs. But the AGOA crisis is accelerating intra-African trade and market diversification. This could be the catalyst for a more resilient, self-reliant Africa. The challenge turned crisis into opportunity. The next chapter is up to Africa. AGOA's end is more than a trade story. It's about Africa's future. The decisions made now will shape millions of lives. For workers, it's about survival and hope. For leaders, it's a test of unity and vision. Africa's path forward must be built by Africans, through smart policy, cooperation, and value creation. This is a chance to turn vulnerability into strength. AGOA proved that opportunity works, but also that dependency is dangerous. The goal, a genuine partnership, not just with the US, but